And I got to that point, and thankfully I was alone in the car driving back home, and I just broke. And I started crying, and I started complaining. And I said, I don't understand this. Why am I so unhappy? And it's because of this whole problem. Why can't you just make sure that the money is there? And the Lord just started working in my heart, and he's like, well, I'm providing for you. And I went home and I read Matthew 6, and that's very dear to me. Matthew 6, about the sparrows coming and God taking care of the sparrows. Are you not much better than they? Don't worry about it. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to clothe you. I'm going to feed you. You don't have to worry about it. But the verses before it talks about where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. That finally clicked with me. I thought, my treasure. I am basing my attitude upon my bank account. My treasure is in my bank account. If my bank account looks okay, I'm happy. If it's not, I'm unhappy. So I was in the wrong. I was placing my treasure somewhere where it should not have been. And God was letting me know that. Well, I gave it over to the Lord. I surrendered. I said, I'm tired of this fear. I'm tired of living like this. I'm tired of being unhappy. Just take it all. I'm tired of it. And from here on out, the finances are yours. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to look at the book. I don't want to see it. It's yours from here on out. The rest that came, I was able to sleep that night. And when I woke up, it was Sunday morning, and I could bounce out of bed, and I was really excited. And I got to church, and there, waiting for me, was a box from my secret pal. And I opened it up, and there was a note, said, last week I saw this, and I was thinking of you. And these verses came to my mind, Matthew 6:25, and she started reading off the verses. And it was a Dumdako figurine of a girl holding out her hands and the birds lighting upon her arms. Wow. I just stood right there and cried. Thankfully, nobody had arrived yet. I cried hard. And it was such a reassurance to me to realize that a week before I had my breaking moment, God knew that I was going to break, have my special time with him, my surrender, and he had already prepared his answer to my cry a week before I had it there. To me, that was so special. I have that Dumdako figurine, and whenever I get discouraged, I look at that. But God comes running. He's your dad, and he knows before you even face the problem. He knows that you're going to face it, and he's got the answer already in the works, waiting for you. So rest comes when we view God as our Father, not as some unreachable God. One day, Tim Hansel wrote this in his book, one day while my son Zach and I were out in the country climbing around in some cliffs, I heard a voice from above me yell, "Hey, Dad, catch me!" I turned around to see Zach joyfully jumping off a rock straight at me. He had jumped and then yelled, "Hey, Dad!" I became an instant circus act, catching him. We both fell to the ground. For a moment after I caught him, I could hardly talk. When I found my voice again, I gasped in exasperation, "Zach, can you give me one good reason why you did that?" He responded with remarkable calmness, "Well, because you're my dad." His whole assurance was based in the fact that his father was trustworthy. He could live life to the hilt because I could be trusted. Isn't this even more true for a Christian? God is your dad. You can trust him. He's there for you. The second point of God is the grace of God. Let's look at 2 Corinthians 12:9 through 10, the grace of God. 2 Corinthians 12:9 through 10, and he said unto me, "My grace is sufficient for thee, for my strength is made perfect in weakness. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities, that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Therefore I take pleasure in infirmities, in reproaches, in necessities, in persecutions, in distresses for Christ's sake. For when I am weak, then am I strong. When Corrie ten Boom of the Hiding Place was a little girl in Holland, her first realization of death came after a visit to the home of her parents, of a neighbor who had died. It impressed her that someday her parents would die as well. Corrie's father comforted her with words of wisdom. "Corrie, when you and I go to Amsterdam, when do I give you your ticket?" "Why, just before we get on the train," she replied. "Exactly," her father said. "And our wise Father in heaven knows when we're going to need these things too. Don't run out ahead of him, Corrie. When the time comes that some of us will have to die, you will look into your heart and find the strength you need just in time." My mom used to always tell me this story when I was a little girl. Have you ever, when you were little, were you always afraid of the future and afraid of growing up, afraid of leaving home and afraid of losing your parents and bad things happening to you? I was, and oftentimes I would talk to my mom about this, and she would give me this illustration. Don't rush ahead of God. When you're there, facing those circumstances, God's grace is going to be there for you. And now that I've left home, gotten married, I've had children, and through it all, God's grace has been there. He's been there through the car accident. He was there when my daughter was diagnosed. She was 16 months old and had no idea. And we came very, very close to losing her. And I was able to see God's hand in it and him just impressing upon my heart that I need to make a phone call to the doctors. And thankfully, he got me in touch with the right one who got a clue instantly and said, "Get in here." And later on, I was going to wait 2 weeks for her normal checkup. And later on, we found out the specialist said 2 weeks more, your daughter would have died. And it was just God taking full control. God's been there many times when she's had a grand mal seizure. He's been there during her other seizures. He's been there when I've received a phone call saying that my son is not breathing. And he's on the way to the hospital, and he had a very severe allergic reaction. He's been through many other difficult times in our life, and there have been times when I have cried out to God and said, "My heart's broken. It's broken in a million pieces, and I don't think I'll ever be able to put it back together again. I don't think I even want it back together again. I'm just so tired." But the Lord has been there with his grace, and he's been there with his sewing equipment and his needles, and in spite of me not wanting it put back together again, he was there, sewing everything up. And then when I pass through the valley and I look back and I say, "Wow, God, you were there. You did it. You did it again. You brought me through." God's grace is sufficient. Most gladly, therefore, will I rather glory in my infirmities. Verse 10, therefore I take pleasure in infirmities. I never thought I would ever be able to say I could take pleasure in it. But I can now, because I know God is there. And I know that whatever he has in store for me in the future, my God, my dad, is already there, waiting for me. He's there. He's there right now with me. Growing up, I was very, very shy. And people would always be like, "Is Kristen still in the room? You know, she's just not talking." I just was not a talker. And I also made a vow I would never, ever take speech class. Never. Then I went off to college and found out it was a requirement for speech. I thought